Well, the next question is very simple, and that is that we have the War Powers Act. That's a privileged resolution, which means the Republicans can't block it. Tim Kaine and I and Rand Paul are sponsors of it. It's going to come to the floor this week. And if it is voted for, if it's voted positively in both houses, then the president can't do another thing in Venezuela without the okay of Congress. We have to pass it.
This Chuck Schumer over the weekend. The Senate is set to vote on a bipartisan war powers resolution this week, aiming to block President Trump from keeping up any military action in Venezuela. The measure is co-sponsored by Senators Chuck Schumer, Tim Kaine, and Rand Paul. It requires only a simple majority to pass. It comes in the immediate aftermath of President Trump's historic military action in Venezuela, Operation Absolute Resolve, where dictator Nicolas Maduro and his wife were extracted from their Caracas palace in the dead of night, Friday night, Saturday morning. The Trump administration will brief lawmakers later today about that operation. And in just a few hours from now, the ousted dictator and his wife will be arraigned on narco-terrorism charges in New York City. Joining me now is Wisconsin Congressman Scott Fitzgerald. Congressman, thanks for joining us this morning on your first day back here. Your reaction to all that has occurred?
Yeah, listen, Maria, I think the more analysis and the more I hear those that have a legitimate opinion about what happened, and if you just take kind of what Secretary Hegseth said kind of at face value, this is strictly a law enforcement type of operation with support from the U.S. military. They can debate all they want, the Monroe Doctrine, which I would say, I think one of the things that's been missing in the discussion is that President Roosevelt revisited this, Teddy Roosevelt, and, made it very clear that this is about each hemisphere as well globally, and our ability to make sure that countries that are located in our backyard are not a threat to the states. And that's why I think they can debate this all day in the U.S. Senate, which they're known for. But at the end of the day, it was law enforcement action.
Well, I mean, it's really interesting to see the priorities of the Democrats right now and how they get so upset over everything President Trump does. Meanwhile, he's focusing on such enormous things, drugs coming into the country, securing our borders. It's quite a difference in terms of what you're looking at, in terms of priorities of the Democrats. Congress returning to Washington today to face a tight legislative calendar, meanwhile, ahead of the January 30th funding deadline. What are your thoughts here? Lawmakers have passed, 3 of the 12 required appropriations bills. You've got 9 bills to be completed to avoid a shutdown. What are your expectations?
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to leadership, and that was just last week, the goal is still to move these appropriations bills. I think we've all known that if there is a funding shortage, if we cannot accomplish that there'll have to be some type of CR. Yeah, I mean, the January 30th deadline is there. We're all very aware of that. And I'm very hopeful that tomorrow morning when we conference with the Republicans, that the Speaker and the leader will have a little bit more information for all of us, knowing how we're going to function and operate over the next 3 weeks in D.C.
Well, I mean, are there bills you think that are easier than others to pass? I mean, what are your expectations in terms of getting a bulk of these bills across the finish line by January 30th?
Yeah, I mean, Congressman Cole has done a good job, I think, of kind of managing the process, if you will. And he's always got a very good handle on just what type of momentum each package has, what are the hangups, and whether or not the votes are there. So it's pretty basic type of legislative operation that we're moving under right now. But I do feel confident that we're all very, I think, a little bit nervous about the January deadline, and that extends across the aisle. I mean, this debacle that we had this last time, which Chuck Schumer led the charge on. I mean, I think it's left a lasting memory for a lot of members of Congress. and we do not want to go there again. So I would expect by the end of this week, we'll know a lot more about where we're at.
Understood. Let me switch gears, ask you about Minnesota, because Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is going to hold a news conference today, we're told, regarding what his office is calling, quote-unquote, news of the day. But there are reports suggesting that he could withdraw from his 2026 re-election bid. Walz, of course, is under fire over Minnesota's multi-billion-dollar fraud crisis. The Small Business Administration has suspended nearly 7,000 Minnesota borrowers over suspect $400 million pandemic loan fraud. The Trump administration also freezing child care payments after viral videos alleged fraud, giving state officials until next week to provide data or risk losing federal money. All this promise of all these daycare centers, they get any kids.
Yeah, amazing kind of round, operation that a couple of people pulled together on their own to really expose what was going on. I will say, being from a district in Wisconsin, border state, we've known that there's been a huge issue with the Somalian population in Minneapolis for a number of years, spills over into the cities of Rochester, where there's been kind of this systemic flow of stories about that community. And unfortunately, everyone is thrown into that pot. But at the end of the day, we've seen this in every state. There's been some type of fraud, but it seems to have just exploded to a new level. And the path that they've taken, which is to create these huge types of bogus operations, it reminds me a lot of the PPP loans that came through during COVID, where people would sit down at a laptop and create whole cloth a new corporation with directors and officers, and then apply. And because there was zero oversight on these PPP loans that went through the Small Business Administration, I must say, the ones that went through financial institutions where the underwriting was done, it didn't happen. This is the same thing. We're seeing the same thing happen in Minneapolis right now.
Yeah, it's a good analysis, Congressman. I remember it well. Good to see you this morning, sir. Thank you. Scott Fitzgerald joining us. Stay
Thanks,
with
Maria.
us. We'll be right back.